the fact that you have certain levels of self-esteem, and that end goal, it doesn't really, you don't get like plus 100 points in your self-esteem category when you accomplish that thing you're going after, but it's the small broken down pieces that kind of build up that self-esteem. And it's also the end out goal of, oh, this is where I'm going. My self-esteem is high because I can see where I'm going. I'm actually attacking this thing like a tiger and saying, hey, I'm feeling good about myself about that.
Right.
I also think it's the acceptance of who you are now and the process that you go through to who you want to be. Because you cannot be everything that you want to be yet and still have a high self-esteem. And yeah, it's like looking into the future and seeing yourself, but at the same time, it's the acceptance that you still haven't lived that life yet, and it will happen if you let it and if you want it enough.
And that jumps straight actually into self-concept. Before we get to that real fast, so the self-esteem, there are these sub-points. Darren talked about the lenses. You've got, and these are just a few of them, culture, family, religion, education, media. Those are all lenses that, for me, are very strong. And so those really do push into my life. And some of them actually increase my self-esteem, but others decrease my self-esteem because of things that, and it's really funny because I have my own ideal self, but the ideal self that, let's say, my wife has for me is some things that I focus on are not at all important to her. And it helps me see that I don't need, and a lot of them are things that I really don't need to focus on, that they're just pulling me down. And so to be able to have those, it's a good thing to have a network of people around you that really care for you and who you are, to help you see what you really need to be and what you really can be, and they lift you up. So we'll jump into the self-concept, exactly what you were saying, Haley, about and self-concept for me jumps into your past self, your present self, and your future self. And really understanding who you are becoming is essentially how I see it. And one of the things that it talks about is your perception of yourself in comparison to others. Do I see myself as a better person because I'm saying that I'm better than him? Or do I see myself as I'm big because I'm bigger than that person, and that person's skinny and I'm big? Am I strong and they're weak? So it's all that comparing. And that we don't. It's something that we all do, but it's not something that needs to really describe us and say who we are as a person. Right? So one of the things that, did I write this down that I really liked a lot? I did not. Can I steal my book? I didn't underline it because it's Darren's book too, so I have to peek at it and see if I can find it. But talked about one thing that I struggle with as well a lot, and it's one thing that I'm really focusing on this upcoming year to really change in myself. And it's talks about in this paragraph, it's on page 77, and it's the third paragraph, and it's about halfway in. It talks about being dependent on approval of others. As a mentor, because we're all mentors, whether you're UV mentors or just mentors and leaders in life, you will be a mentor. But to not seek the importance, or not put importance on seeking approval of other people, it's not really, it shouldn't drive your life. It shouldn't make the difference in your life of happiness and sadness, because you're never going to get the approval of everybody. You're never going to be able to make everybody happy. But to seek, and it says specifically, let's see here, the mentoring process must be its own reward. And that sentence really changed how I feel about being a mentor. And it's my third year of doing this, and I finally have started to see more of this and see that now that I can look back on everything, all the growth that I've had while mentoring people, and really focusing more on that than focusing on how does my class see me? Do I get seen as a professional person? Do I get seen as a laid-back person? That doesn't matter. It's the process is what we need to focus on. And so just to remember that. And as we do that, then our identity, our self-identity and our self-vision will just continue to grow and grow and grow more. And we will become the people that we see ourselves as. We will be able to eventually get to our ideal self and to the self that we can really be. Does anybody else have comments or questions?
I just think that a lot of students or people our ages really struggle with this concept right now. Like, moving out, you're having to pay for everything, or married, or you're doing new things and you're trying to find yourself. And I think it's pretty important for, especially if you are going to mentor, if you understand it and you have it down for yourself, to help others find it and understand it.
Just like you said, the more that you understand it yourself, the better you can help others get to that.
And I think it's important to also recognize that, is the path that you're going down right now the path that you want? Like, for example, if you've chosen a major, does it really align with your strengths and who you are as a person and what you see yourself as becoming? Or is it someone else's choice for you? And it might be someone else's choice for you, and they might be right because they know you well. But I think sometimes and this can happen to us later in life. I mean, I have 5 kids, and you can get stuck, and this can happen to moms, where you might lose your self-identity because maybe you've got stuck in a rut, and I think a lot of times when we try to think about the future of, it's going to be different when I do this, or when I become this, or when I'm, and there's a great risk in living that way, in living in the moment and really trying to know who you are and leveraging who you are to do good and to accomplish what you want for yourself and for what you value. That's so important now. You don't have to wait to be who you are. I think sometimes we defer that. We say, it's all going to be different when, but you are you now, and you can make contributions now. And that's why it's so important to know who you are so that you can make those contributions. And I love in the book on page 77, it says, you cannot change, this is the first sentence of the last paragraph, you cannot change another person's negative self-system. I think that's important because I think a lot of times, and this can happen in a marital relationship or in an intimate relationship, where you may not like something that someone else does or is, or maybe they're negative all the time. Covey talks about sidestepping the negative. It doesn't have to change the way you see them. So that's an important piece too.
Yeah, I went through that experience. I was going into business management when I first started, and I was almost 70% done with my major. So I was just about, I'm about where I am now in my new major. And I realized, and I was also able to realize this because of friends that said, and family and wife that said, hey, you should look into this because you're really good at this. And it's not what I'm planning to do for the rest of my life. Because they were able to see that in me, and I was being something that I was going to be because it's what my dad wanted me to do. Not because it was something that I wanted to do. And so when I realized that what I wanted to do was math, that's what I did. And it's made a lot of difference in the happiness and in the true growth of my myself. So don't be something because somebody else wants you to be it. Be something because you are it. Any other comments, questions? Giving applause.
So we want to take you through an experience right now, okay? So this is going to be totally personal. You're not going to be sharing this. Although what we may want you to do is share principles that you've learned without disclosing any personal information. And this is going to tie into what a meaningful reflection is. And I'm going to do another little picture here. We all have certain behaviors. How would you describe a behavior? If you were to define that word, what would it be?
Actions developed over time.
Ooh, I love that. That's like a textbook one. So, actions over time. I didn't pay him to do that. That's like a perfect definition. Okay. So you're saying that actions lead to behavior. Actions over time lead to behavior. So what's an action?
An act.
Okay.
It's not simple, but it really is. It's a moment-to-moment choice.
Okay, so it's a choice or an act. Okay. So then, what leads to action?
Thought.
Okay, that's a component. Is there anything else that might lead to an act?
Emotions?
Emotion, can we say emotion or feeling? Okay.
What about like preconceived notion? Or maybe that's probably along with thought, yeah?
Yeah, would you say that that's okay to characterize it in that?
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, because I think that does qualify into the thought.